Hello, welcome. My name is Julia Pearring. Welcome to my home. I live in Harlem in New York City in the US of A. And I'm a certified Anusara yoga teacher. Happy to be here. And look where we are. It's the circumstances aren't what anyone would have chosen, but they actually have welcomed us into this moment where a few weeks ago I couldn't have imagined making this video and sending it out in this way. So I want to start with the theme of the unknown and the embrace of the unknown. And ultimately the way in Open to Grace, when we step towards the unknown embraces us. Close your eyes and take a few moments to find your breath, to feel the truth in this statement. When you ride the breath, you move towards a subtlety and a spontaneity that arises from within yourself, that is rooted in the supportive foundation of the unknown. Who breathes you? Where does that breath come from? Where does it go to? When you let your awareness move towards that unknown, all of a sudden, you open to grace. The unknown embraces you. It welcomes and invites you into this present moment. Let's bring our hands up in front of our hearts. Let's chant together. We'll do 3 ohms in one time through the invocation, closing with an om. Feel your breath once more. Notice the way the inhale is going to feed the sounds of your voice, the vibration of the chant. In this way, let the chant be that opening into the unknown of how our actions will ripple out, of how the world will move next. But our willingness, our acceptance of this invitation. 3 ohms and once through, full breath. Shivaya Gurave Satchitananda Murtaye Nishprapanchaya Shantaya Niralambaya Tejase. Thank you. Let's release our hands, open our eyes, and we're going to start standing. And I'll face the camera, and you can face the camera as well, or you can face the front of your mat, or maybe those are the same things. That's part of the unknown as we step into doing online videos like this. And we'll start with our feet. It's almost like a windshield wiper action. Come to the inner edge and the outer edge of the foot. Toes can lift, but especially as you get to the inner edge, the big toe heavies, and you get to the outer edge, the pinky toe heavies. And then even coming forward more to the tops of the toes, the front of the feet, back towards the heels, getting a little bit of mobility there. Maybe even moving around the ankles a little bit when the heels are up. Feeling that out. And then I'm going to come to my knees. You stay standing just so that you can see my upper body. And then we're going to find our breath. So as you steady down through your feet, inhale, stretch your arms out and up. Let the breath fill in the body, and when the exhale is ready to come, follow that. Embrace the unknown. Let the unknown embrace you. The arms come down. On the inhale, the arms come out and up. And on the exhale, out and down. Find the Ujjayi breath. One or two more. Simple. Following the breath, inhale. And following the breath, exhale. And let's take it further. So when the inhale comes in, find that place where you can hover on the top of the breath. Breath hasn't come out, and maybe take a moment there. Stretch a bit further. Slight side bends, maybe a little forward bend looking towards your navel, a little back bend. And by that, I just mean some flexion and extension through the spine. And when the breath needs to come out, follow that as well. And then maybe arms come forward and you embrace the front body. And the inhale comes back in, and again, you stretch in little ways. And when the exhale comes out, maybe your arms go around behind you, and in this way, maybe you grab opposite elbows and pull a little bit broad. And the arms come out and up, and again, little movements. Extend the inhale, but when it's ready to come out, follow that. Let the breath come out. Maybe the arms crossing the chest becomes an eagle arms, and a little pull on the shoulders. And again, the inhale, filling up, letting it mobilize, maybe stretching palms. I'm extending through my knees a little bit, mobilize as you need to through your legs as well. Arms come behind you, maybe even reverse prayer, maybe other forearm is underneath. A few breaths. Feeling that out. Inhaling, arms rise. And exhale, arms come down, and then I'm going to move myself so that the next time as you inhale, your arms come up, and take your time. You'll flow along with me. The exhale becomes a forward fold, standing forward bend. Let the head release completely. I have a headset on, so I have to hold it with one hand, otherwise it will flop right off, but let your head release as much as you can. Knees can bend so that there's a softness there, so that the pelvis is really able to mobilize. It's not uncommon for the hips to be a little extra tight in unknowns. When the unknown is, which is always present, but when it becomes a little bit more it comes to the foreground, when it becomes more part of the collective consciousness instead of in the background, when things seem to be going along with the day-to-day. So the tightness in the hips, let that be there, and then just soften in little ways. Let the low spine really release crownward. Yet scoop the belly up. As you inhale, lengthen a bit and step your left leg back nice and long. So we're going to bring the back knee down. Feel free to pat it. Feel free to bring as much support as you need to. And we're going to keep the toes untucked. So the idea is that you're on the top of the foot here. I'm going to slide a little forward. Good. And breathing into this, press your hand down into your front knee. Spread those toes. Spread your back toes. And as you push down, breathe. Let that help to start to pull the back knee forward, to firm the quad. You can even stiff arm a little bit and push some extra weight down into that front heel so that you work the inner and outer hip a little bit more on the front leg. And breathe. And feel the way that even just those initial movements of arms and setting of feet started to plant us down, get us ready to take the invitation that's being offered to us into the present moment. Maybe hips slide forward. Inhale, take your arms up. And then again, even here, maybe a little bit of side bending. And as you do so, pull the legs towards each other and anchor both sitting bones down. Use the top. We're going to use this to really use the front deep shin muscles. So you press the top of the foot, spread the pinky toe on that back foot to keep the outer ankle firm in. And then exhale, hands to the mat. And step back, downward facing dog. Plant the hands, take a moment. Even swivel the heels, catch the weight to one hand. Swivel the heels, catch the weight to the other. And again, invite the head to release in line with the upper arms. I can't do that because of props.
And then inhale, last breath, bend your knees. Really turn the inner knees out, almost broad, but also pull the heels wide. And then pull the low spine back, 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 back behind you, really lengthening and inviting more breath, more space, more opening into the low half of the body. Inhale, come forward, plank pose. Grip a little with the fingertips, just enough so that the heart can come through and yet there's a rise of the front body, a reach to the heels behind you. Lift the hips back up, downward facing dog. Left leg lifts high and step it forward. Back knee down, top of the foot. So again, hands are going to come to your front knee. And spread that back toe, maybe even look this time to make sure that the outer ankle is drawn into the midline. And the two legs are drawn together, back knee forward, front heel back. My breath starting to heat up, which is nice to feel that flow. And again, to accept the invitation, to open to grace. So we come right into the present moment. As the back leg pulls forward, as that front foot really anchors, inhale, stretch arms up. Because as the front heel anchors, it will invite the left sitting bone to also anchor, to deepen the left hip. So you're breathing into the left hip. You're opening up space there and taking little side bends, just like as we did when we were standing. Feeling the difference of that. It's very common for the hip to hike up. So we lose the length on the left side. So root down, use the back shin, get length by not dropping, but by opening. Inhale high. Again, exhale, hands to the mat. Downward facing dog. And breathe. Pull the hips up and back. Soften knees. So lower legs, get steady. Spread your toes. Imagine turning the knees a little bit out, but also slightly widen the heels. Let that bring a lot of deep movement into the hip, inner thighs, outer hips. Inhale again, come forward, plank pose. This time, knees down. Come to the top of your feet, like we just did in the Anjaneyasana, and push. Push down, and let the chest come forward and down towards the mat. Good. Can you keep that in the lower legs as you find your back bend? Hips can, pelvis can stay down or it can lift. And again, mobilize a little here. Turn and look over a shoulder. Turn and look over a shoulder. We're working more on the lower body, but feel it in the fingertips, that little grip that allows you to pull the musculature up the arms, get deep in the armpits, and to invite the abdomen in and up, throat up. Nice. Downward facing dog. Pressing back. Lift your right leg high. Step your right foot forward between your hands. This time high lunge. So go ahead and push down to come up. Bring your hands to your front knee and lean a little forward. Spread the back toe. We're not on the top of the foot, but we're going to practice that in a bit. Spread the back toe to hug the ankle, to firm the lower leg, and to invite the left hip to pull forward, but with a strong lift up. The hands help to put that weight. You feel it. Does it go into the arches in a way where in some ways we drop that the foundation. We drop off the foundation. We lose the acceptance. We lose the ability to meet the unknown as the unknown meets us. Instead, root the weight through the heel, get clear in the foundation, and then as you're ready, stretch your arms up. Even here, maybe little side bends. So part of it, what starts to happen when the low body opens up, when the legs firm, when we open to grace, is that we get access to the pelvic focal point, which often is lost forward as we don't feel the space of the unknown. And instead, as you draw up, start to sense that the abdomen is not pushing forward. You're not losing control. It's not that's not what is happening. We're opening to grace, and that's inviting us into the present moment. Arms stretch. Again, you're already there, maybe reaching. And then on the next exhale, spin the back heel out and down. Go ahead and readjust your stance as you'd like. Take a look so that we're still working foundation. Arms reach out. Full deep breath. Inhale, come up and over the back leg, reverse warrior. With your front leg, still, imagine you're pushing down onto that knee. With the back leg, soften the knee a little bit and really firm the quads. Let the hip come a little forward as you take the back bend. Side bend, back bend. Maybe there's the back bend. Good. Inhale, come up, side angle pose. Elbow on your knee, stretch your top arm. Again, spread, use the foundation. Feel inner edges and outer edges of the feet. Feel the way that we've taken the upper body and coaxed it upwards. And don't just do it with the top side, do it with the bottom side. So as you push down, get that same sense of length all the way to the bottom armpit. Last breath. Exhale, hand to the mat. Spinning the back heel up. One more time, hand on the knee. So that when you push down, you feel that weight. Let that actually allow the thigh to drop in the socket so that it's not the back hip that drops when we twist. It's the front hip that settles. We open the depth of pelvis, and then we turn, lifting belly, lifting chest. Exhale, hand to the mat. Downward facing dog. Inhale, come forward, plank pose. Let's try it now with the half toe all the way. So pressing the heels back, grip the floor, lift abdomen, lift quads, come forward and down. If you want knees down first, please. This is your practice. Spread the pinky toes, press the shins down. We're all in our own intuitive space when we open to grace. We all are here to take and accept that invitation that is being offered us to meet in the present moment with the unknown. And so the unknown embraces us. Last breath. Downward facing dog. And then take some steps to get to the front of the mat. And my invitation is to step forward with the head and the heart staying low. It's super difficult. We'll want to steer with the chin forward. But let the head release. Walk the feet. Let that be a lift in the hips created in the walk forward, and then settle into the fold. And breathe. Inhale, Ardha Uttanasana. Exhale, and fold. Uttanasana. Bend your knees deep, hands to the tops of the knees. So we're going to stay with this push. So your arms are straight. You're stiff arming in some ways. You're pushing away. This allows the armpits to lift, the chest to be broad, and you're putting that weight down. And see where it goes in your feet. Does it crash to the inner arches? Does it fall out to the outer edges? So get it down to the heels, lengthen the toes, and in that way pull the seat back in low and stretch the side body up. Any play you want to do here with the upper body is welcome. Push down, inhale, lifting high, even finding a neutral by lifting thumbs or back bending. Inhale high, exhale hands right down through heart center and breathe. Inhale, stretching arms up overhead. Exhale, fold forward, standing forward bend. And inhale to lengthen. Step your right leg back. So we come high lunge, second side. Hands to the front knee, a slight tip forward. Bend the front knee. Some of this you'll start to realize that to get this thigh low, you've got to go longer in your stance. And it doesn't get low by dropping the back leg. So here's where we play with those deep front shin muscles. The way in which really there's a firm commitment to open to grace. There's a firm commitment when we accept this invitation, because it's an invitation with the unknown. And that takes a firm commitment, because whatever comes, we are there. We are there, we are present. And there's something that we get to acknowledge, both in the way that it's a surrender. That acceptance is a deep surrender, but it's the kind of surrender where we're totally embraced. It's really what we all deeply want more than anything, that opening. The last few breaths here as you stretch. Inhale and then exhale, spin the back heel out and down, and warrior two. Feel it out. Front knee deeply bent. Inhale, come up and over the back leg. Reverse warrior. Back thigh active. I often like a hand there just to sense. And oh yeah, I feel my quads. Deep hip flexors are a little bit tighter than usual. And that's fair enough. Inhale as you come up, side angle pose. And again, often we drop the bottom side. We even drop the weight out of here. So give that same push to the shin. Activate into the hip. And that'll help you lengthen the underside as much as the top side. Full breath. Exhale, hand to the mat. Back heel spins up. And here we go for the second side. Now you'll really see my hand push. Finding that weight to the heel, so that instead of the twist being a drop of the back thigh, and this is what happens The back body is the unknown, and at some point we're like, oh no, we actually don't know. And we pull away from that. We try to pull to everything we know. But instead, move to the back body. Really invite that space to be full. And notice how the deep pelvis starts to open up. We're actually embraced by the unknown. Arm stretches high. Exhale, hand to the mat. And again, step back, downward facing dog. And then take a child's pose. Bring the knees down. Let the knees come wide. Set the hips towards your heels. Release your head. Maybe palms spin up so that you get the elbows to turn down into the mat, to broaden and externally rotate the upper arm bones. Forehead releases. Maybe you need a drink of water. Maybe you need an exhale out through the mouth. Breathing. And here, notice that the pose, I'm going to sit up, but you stay. The pose is that invitation to settle through the top of the foot, the front of the ankle, to release deep shins, release back of the knees even deeper, where the tops of the thighs descend, the hip creases deepen. And that allows the tailbone and the pelvis to open and release towards the heels and the spine to elongate towards the crown. 1 or 2 more breaths. And then we're going to come up onto elbows and knees. So the knees come a little closer. With elbows and knees, and I'm going to crawl forward. Settle here. It's slightly like downward dog in the way that the hips are higher than the heart than the head. So there's this tip that way. And take a few rounds of cat and cow, just seeing how the pelvis has opened, that flow of movement. See how the lower body, which can get cramped and stuck in times that are more uncertain, and yet from the foundation, it's that same space that we initially open. And make sure your head goes all the way down as you let the spine really round. 1 or 2 more. Good. And then as you inhale and come up, go ahead and watch just for a moment, because I want to show. I'm going to grab my 2 blocks. Right foot's going to come forward, and I'm going to stay on the top of the foot. So here's our lunge using the top of the foot. Often the idea of trying to lift this back knee up, I would lunge a little more forward thinking that would take the weight off. Instead, I'm going to use that same powerful acceptance into the heel and pull the deep muscles back into the hip to help create the support to lift the back leg. For some of you, this is just an initial how do you lift. For some of you, this might become a high lunge in which you take variations. So a few moments feeling that out, playing with that. And notice the deep, deep shin muscles. This is actually setting us up for a bridge pose. That's where we're headed. They told me this should be a basic class. This is basic, right? And then you stretch the front foot forward, maybe getting a little bit into the back line of the leg, any swivel of the hips. Again, let there be a fluidity to this. Because it's really ultimately the playful nature, right? That unknown is super playful. And then as you bend the knee, step back again, downward facing dog. If you want to sneak in a vinyasa, feel free to do so now. You just want to heavy the knees, feel the way in which you're able to settle and balance the pelvis on the thighs. And then we come side 2, so left foot's forward. Top of the foot's down. Don't let your knee lunge forward. Stand down through from knee and pull back into the left hip to actually give the signal that the back leg is supported. And then the back leg works, of course, like crazy. Top of the foot, deep shin muscles, quads lifting, and then play with it as it goes. Finding that balance point. Breathing into it, stretching. When you finish, releasing. Walking the front foot forward, breathing into the back line of the left leg. It's amazing how just using the front and back of the leg, these chains of muscles, it's almost like the front and back of the leg are very distant, right? And it seems that this unknown is pulling us apart. But that's the beauty. Now that it's collective unknown, it's the very space in which we unite. Again, downward facing dog. move through vinyasa or stay on hands and knees. Just getting a sense of how the pelvis is opening. One more time. Now this time from hands and knees. Go ahead and take a few rounds of cat and cow. Just feeling the pelvic movement especially. You're literally taking the pelvis and rotating it on the top of your femur. You know, the spine's moving too. The neck too, if you don't have a headset on. I want to remind you of that. I'm not doing it, and I'm really wishing I was. I think that's why I keep saying it. I love getting that movement through the neck. And then let's take just a little bit more opening through the ribbed area. So one round. It's not even bringing the arm all the way down, but threading. Move this block as I come. Arm comes out and up. Keep both knees as equally heavy. Even use the shin push to help get the rotation. And maybe let's do 5. And so if you want to also do a round on your elbow, check that out. Yeah, breathe into it. Let it play. One more round. And then same thing, side 2. So left arm lifts. Again, one knee will tend to unweigh. And so you press both down, lift the abdomen in and up again. Remember, this starts to bring our low belly area into the pose so that we embrace the unknown at that place of power, that place where we ultimately sense we lose control. And we embrace the unknown. That's open to grace. Lean right into it. Let the abdomen draw in and up. Again, 3 or 5. Forearm variation, also welcome. Just open the ribs a bit. Breathe and be easy with your shoulder girdle, especially if you're on elbow. Don't over pull. Giving yourself one more moment. Once you've finished again, just feel out the knees. Eventually we're going to really be using some symmetrical back bends here. Then come to sit. Feet in front. Take the ankle across, right ankle first, perhaps. And using this, even here, just a little bit of a rocking motion. It's the same kind of windshield wipers on the bottom foot. And the idea is that the right leg is not in control. The right leg is following. It's getting pulled along as the left. So again, you might feel the little cries of being disconcerted in that right hip. Just like, wait a minute, where am I going? Who's leading this? But feel how you can pull the sitting bones down still. And if you want to take it in a little bit and breathe. Then exhaling and releasing, second side. So again, now it's the right leg that leads. A little bit of this windshield wipers. A little bit of mobility in the left hip. The left hip has to do what we all do, and we do this all day, every day. This is not something new, but we respond. We respond all the time. We say, oh, this is where we're going. We dance. We embrace the unknown, and the unknown embraces us. Last few breaths, take it in. Whatever extent works for you. What I like about the seated version is keep pulling the seat down. So make sure your back isn't getting pulled to the floor. Pull the sitting bones down, pull the deep groins down, and then release. I want to play with an upward tabletop, so I like to do both variations in the hands. And what I want to offer, so maybe watch for this first one, is the way in which when we lift our hips, here goes the belly. Often it wants to lead. You see how my belly wants to go highest? So you actually have to absorb the abdomen down into the body. Extend the knees a little forward and rise the hips up. Yeah, use your feet a little more. That's it. Then the throat and heart. Yeah, actually lean back a bit. And exhale, let that release. So go ahead and try it yourself. And the 2 variations are the fingers point one way and then the fingers point the other, towards the toes and then away from the toes. And find it, maybe even do it. Let the belly lift, as long as that doesn't hurt the back. It shouldn't. Absorb the abdomen down and in. Push the feet more and really let it be the hips that pick up. And then flow from heart towards head. And I'm very mobile in my elbow, so I have to be super generous with a slight bend there and grip the fingers more. And exhale and let that release. Good. For a moment, just in a
Baddha Konasana, let that settle. And then here we go. We're going to try this half toe pose. So creep your way up onto your half toes. We did a lot on the top of the feet. And look to point and take the knees forward and down and keep the abdomen in. This is a great way to practice it with your arms behind you. And then you pull the hips back and underneath you. And then you try that 3 times. We're all working on gracefulness. And sometimes they plonk. It's a good workout for your feet. Feel that out. If this is too much, just pause. We'll be there in a moment. And then as you come, one more time, take a little seat in Virasana. So grab a block, feet a little wider, and let that settle. Feel your breath. And you feel the waves, you feel the movement of breath. And we're more present, which really means we've accepted the invitation, we've opened to grace. To say hello, really to see and turn our gaze towards the unknown. Inhale, come up onto your knees. And so you can squeeze the block, you could play with other variations. I want to invite a little bit of play in Utkatasana variation. So I'm doing the backstroke variation just because we did a lot of lift of the arms, lift of side body. You squeeze the legs, maybe playing with getting one arm back. Notice this, belly will go forward more, low back will drop, so we lose this area. Instead, the pelvic area goes forward. The heart then goes forward and up to get the arm to come back. So see what that feels like, whether you come down or whether you do that. One more breath with this. And then one more time, sit for Virasana. If you have a practice of Supta Virasana, you could play, even if you're just working towards it, you don't have to have the block. Your pelvis also doesn't have to be down if the block's not there. You could play with the hands behind you and a little bit of that pelvic tilt that both camel pose needs and also just kind of cat-cow variations. But Supta really requires that aim of the bottom of the pelvis towards the back of the knees. Then elbow comes down. If pelvis comes down, then so does the back of the shoulders and the head. But take your time and notice the tendency to overlift at the abdominal area. And instead, lengthen the sides. Knees are boss here. This is one place. The knees are the ones that get to tell you how far you go and when you come out. You don't want any pain in the knee joint. If you're there for a few more breaths, that's very welcome. When you're ready, though, we're going to come onto our backs. Bridge pose. Come to lay, knees bent. Feel the body settled. Have a block nearby. We're going to end in Viparita Karani. Take a moment. Let that settle. And even just the earlier variations of arms in the back plane we did just at the very beginning, and Purvottasana, a few of these, have helped to warm this up. So sometimes I like to press the elbow, lift the shoulder, and draw it under. It's not how close to the spine necessarily. It's also how much the bottom tip of the blade can lift into the back of the heart. So don't over-mobilize to the spine. You want the breath to be in the back of the heart. And so then when you press down, you can do hands down, you can do elbows bent. But again, don't let the belly lead. Really use the pelvis and extend the knees forward like we did when we were on the half toe. Extend them forward like you're going to drop them. In that way, you're less likely to externally rotate the legs. Push down, maybe arms clasp. Press the throat down. Let the bottom tips of the blade lift the heart towards the chin as you take the deep pelvis and extend it over the legs more. Breathe. In this way, you'll both be able to flow down into a softness in the throat, palate, focal point, and extend back out through that reach of knees, toes, weight in the heels. And exhale to let that release. Pause for a moment. Maybe hands on belly, hands on heart. And then block time. Take the block on whatever height you'd like. Here's a great way to know where the block goes. When you find that top rim of your pelvis,
It's as high as the block should be. It shouldn't be any higher. So it shouldn't be on the low spine. Again, you can get the blades to slightly lift the heart towards the throat space. Then up goes one leg, and up goes the other leg. Knees can be bent. It's far better to have the thighs with straight up and down than to get the legs straight with the feet way off. That will pop the belly up for sure. You want the abdomen to be able to settle. Again, we move towards the unknown. And this, in many ways, it's almost we're at the end of class, so open to grace is always present. But in some ways, this is about the organic extension, the way in which at the very culmination, when we move towards action, we don't want to do that trying to force, trying to tell the unknown where it should be going, right? Not the shoulda, coulda, wouldas. If we want to open to grace, if we really want the power of action, we embrace the unknown, because then the unknown embraces us, and that's where the power comes from. Playing with this, and my legs are shaky today. Allowing that descending from the feet to the hips, to the heart, to the palate. Allow yourself to become present. The body shouldn't be in any one way. Open to the grace and the presence of your own body. We're not trying to say circumstances aren't tough, but as tough as they get, they're still an invitation. Last few moments. And of course, this is your practice. So if you want to stay in Viparita for longer, if you want to even use this as your Shavasana pose, I leave that to you. Otherwise, the feet come down, and I'm a big fan of pressing both heels, really stabilizing the pelvis. So both heels are evenly weighted, like when we pushed our hands at the very beginning of class. Hips lift enough to move the block, and hips come down. You want to bring the knees in for a moment. If there's any last stretch you want, maybe arms reaching overhead, extension of the heels and toes. My feet have probably gone off video. And then let the arms release down by your sides. Let the legs roll out. As much as the blades tuck, again, don't pull them to your spine. You don't want to uproot the heart. You want the heart to be able to soften and settle as much as the blades are behind you. And let the body release completely. And the whole of the front body settles. So deep pelvis releases. All the abdominal organs to the front of the spine, the heart and lungs. The organs of the throat region. Of course, the deep weighted organ of the brain, the deep glands, the weight of the eyes and the sockets. You don't have to pull them. Let the body surrender as is extremely natural. Opening to grace is extremely natural. It wells up especially in moments where we feel that the control, where we come to know the control is not in our hands. As everything softens, let it be the slightest rise and fall in the belly. A reminder, who breathes you? Your very root, your very ground of being is unknown to us. It's far too vast for our daily life to reveal unless we continue to practice and open to grace.
Take a moment now to deepen the breath, letting that signal to the body to bring little movements, little stretches. As you gather your knees into your chest, either roll to one side or find your way up through the center. And come to sit, taking a comfortable seat. Checking the time. We've got time. Let your eyes close. Make sure the seat is supportive in a way where the spine is able to be easily upright. In that way, still, that same deep organ chain of the front body, even the ribs themselves, soften. They hang from the spine. They move towards the spine. The shoulder girdle rests. That's why we need the spine to be easily upright, so that we have that ability to move, to accept the invitation to move to the unknown in meditation. Head rests on the top of the spine, so feel the throat rising from energy that begins as deep as the pelvis. The breath moves and can be a wonderful anchor to accept the invitation to move and embrace the unknown. Move towards and embrace. And it doesn't always happen in a way that's perceptible to us. But see if you can feel if there's any signal or awareness that the unknown is embracing you. Savor the depth of your own presence, the presence of your vastness, your nature being rooted in the supportive space of the unknown. Be carried. As your breath begins to deepen a little, maybe the body sways. And bring your hands up in front of your heart. And we acknowledge the circumstances, the weight of them, the uncertainty of them. We acknowledge the practices so that we accept this invitation to become present, to open to grace. Take your head towards your own heart, that deep, unknown, powerful space within you. Namaste. Thank you for being here with me today. I look forward to meeting you soon if I have not already. I'm Julia from New York.